Evan Sayet is a writer, comedian, a producer. He helped create the Arsenio Hall show. He was the very first creative consultant on Politically Incorrect with Bill Marr, and delivered stand-up comedy to David Letterman's The Late Show, among many other things. He has now got a new book out called Apocali Now, which takes you through all of the ecological catastrophes liberals have threatened us with, but which have proved less than apocalyptic. Evan, have I got you? Are you there?
Yep, I'm here, and I like the title alone. Got a chuckle from you because the title is.
I read the entire book and chuckled throughout, and we will talk about it. But I want to talk to you. We've been talking a lot about comedy here because obviously comedy has now been monopolized by the left to the point where they can actually get up and say, we're not going to be funny anymore. We're just going to talk about the things that matter to us. I want to go back. You helped create the Arsenio Hall show. You worked with Bill Marr. What is it like for a guy, because you're an openly conservative guy. You've been very brave about it. You've never been mealy-mouthed about it. What is it like for a conservative guy in a writer's room with Bill Marr or Arsenio Hall or any of those people?
Yeah, the answer is I don't know, because back then I was still on the left. I mean, growing up, to borrow Andrew Breitbart's description, liberalism was the default factory setting for somebody born into my demographic. You know, I was a New York City born Jew and wasn't that steeped in politics. I knew exactly what every Democrat knows. I knew that Democrats are good and Republicans are evil. I'm good. I'm a Democrat. That's all I needed to know. You know, Democrats like peace, Republicans like war. I like peace. I'm a Democrat. Democrats like air. Republicans hate air. I like air. It wasn't until after I became a conservative that I left all of these shows. I stopped writing for television. You know, people ask me all the time, has your career been hurt since you've come out as a conservative? And the answer, Andrew, is I don't know. Because the day that I recognized, and my epiphany wasn't that I had the wrong beliefs and the wrong values. My epiphany was that the beliefs and values I held were not represented by the left. My beliefs remain the same as from when I was young. You know, I recognize good and evil, right and wrong, that America is exceptional, et cetera, et cetera. And I remain a lowercase L liberal. In fact, what we seek to conserve as conservatives is a liberal democracy.
Yeah, no, I feel exactly the same way. When you watch now and you see like every single show, I mean, it makes me a little nuts because there's nothing to watch at night if you don't want to be insulted. When you see every single, is there
reruns of 24?
What's that?
Reruns of 24.
Reruns of 24. Is there any hope in your mind that comedians who, let's face it, comedians kind of are supposed to be rebels, right? They're supposed to say the things that nobody else says, but now they're saying the things that every other comedian says. Is there any point where somebody says, wait a minute, you know, I don't believe this, where they have your revelation, which was my revelation too, which was the values I represented are not represented by the left. Do you have any hope of that?
It's difficult because we allowed the left to be the gatekeepers of the communications industries, right, of the studios. I mean, so even if I were to, or somebody else were to put out exactly what you're describing, let's say, I mean, I like to think of myself, originally, I got back into stand-up comedy when I became a conservative. I've been writing TV shows. I got back into stand-up because when I became a conservative, I said, what weapon, what tool, what do I bring to the battle that our side seems to be missing? And I intentionally made myself a Bill Marr for the right, or a George Carlin for the right, pointedly political. The difference is I still do jokes. I still do funny things. Right? Left has replaced humor with vitriol. And they're such caged animals, the left. They're so filled with anger and hate that release that comes from vitriol is now serving the purpose on the left that humor used to sell, release and a sense of community and all of these things. So is there hope? The downside is they own the mechanism for getting our voices out there. On the other hand, technology has always been something that has offered a new avenue. So as technologies develop and we have more opportunities where we don't need the gatekeepers, where we can go around the studios, when we can make movies on our cell phones. That bodes well. So I don't know the answer. There's stuff on both sides.
So we're talking to Evan Sayet, the author of Apocali Now, his new book. Which this is a funny title, and it's a funny book about
the reason it's funny, Andrew, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
The reason it's funny is because apocalypse is a made-up word.
I understand.
It's plural of apocalypse. But the reality is you can't have an apocalypse. You can't have more than one apocalypse. Right? Had they been right even once, we wouldn't be sitting here talking.
I want to ask you a question because you work with Bill Marr. I want to ask you, Bill Marr, I respect Bill Marr because he respects free speech. I mean, I almost never agree with him, but he does have people on the other side on his show, which is amazing in and of itself. He started out, he had a show, Politically Incorrect, which was,
I wrote it.
Yeah, you wrote parts of it, right?
I wrote it for 6 years.
And it was in part politically incorrect. What happened to him?
Okay, here's exactly what happened to him. Not a thing. What happened was the show moved. He was never a libertarian. He was never on the right. He was never on the left. He's a narcissist. The show, when I wrote it, was done out of New York City. In New York City, you leave the studio, you walk down the stairs, you walk into the street, you walk past cab drivers, you walk past construction workers, you walk past doormen. If you are a narcissist and you need strangers to yell, "We love you, Bill," in New York City, you've got to be a little bit more of a working man's mentality. When the show moved to Hollywood, you leave the studio, you get in your private car, the gate goes up, there are no cab drivers, there are no doormen. You just drive in your private car till you get to your gated community. And now who's in your gated community to yell, "We love you, Bill"? It's going to be Susan Sarandon. It's going to be all the radical leftists. So he's always been a panderer. In New York, he pandered to the working class a little more. But once he got out to Hollywood, he pandered to his fellow leftists in showbiz.
That is really an interesting analysis. It really is. Let us talk about Apocali Now, though. First of all, it's in rhyme.
You didn't laugh that time.
What's that?
You didn't laugh that time when you said Apocali.
No, I mean, after a while, I mean, but this is, you go through, in rhyme, all of the things that the left has been telling us are going to destroy the world for the last, 30, 40 years?
Actually, the book was published on, by no coincidence, Earth Day, which was April 22nd.
Okay.
On that same day, CBS News decided to run Walter Cronkite's coverage of the very first Earth Day 49 years ago. And at the very end of it, he's almost weepy. It's like he had gotten his death sentence, which we had. And he turns to the camera and the people at home, and as the most trusted man in America, he looks in the camera and he says, "The message is clear. Act now or die." Now that's what AOC is telling us. Act now or die.
Yeah.
That's what they were telling us with the ozone layer. That's what they were telling us with acid rain. And you know where you hear that concept, act now or die? It's at the end of every used car salesman's pitch. Act now, time's running out. Right? Yeah. Because if you can force somebody to act quickly, they act foolishly. If they're in fear, they will act foolishly. And obviously, turning over our money and our freedom to the Democratic Party is a foolish act.
Yeah. I always tell people there may be science that the world is warming, but there's no science that giving our power to the government is going to cure anything. Evan Sayet, the author of Apocali Now. Get it? It's funny, and you're funny. It's always good to see you, Evan. Thanks a lot.
So good to see you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.